This is the No More Wasted Days podcast, and we're your hosts, Sarah Kaufman Bradstreet
and Heather PG. Grab your favorite NA drink and listen as we share vulnerable stories so you never feel alone on your alcohol-free journey.
And gain insights from us as we break down our most used tips and strategies that have kept us alcohol-free.
It's time to break free from wasting any more of your days to the drinking, blackout, hangover cycle.
Welcome to another episode of the No More Wasted Days podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sarah.
I'm Heather.
And we are covering, I think, a really cool topic today. We're going to be talking all about weekends without alcohol. And Heather and I are going to help you find the joy in your alcohol-free weekends, because I don't know about you, but weekends were my hardest obstacle when I quit drinking, or so I thought they were going to be.
100%.
Yeah, it's funny. They actually were not as hard as I thought they were going to be. So I hope that after you hear all this information, you feel the same and you feel empowered. But just a little backstory, I was a nightly drinker, but my weekends were when I really cut loose. They were just when I went on benders, basically. And when I think about it, my weekend drinking was like my gateway to my alcohol use disorder. It was the thing that started it all, because it all started with just innocent in quotation marks, because my drinking was never normal. It was always binge drinking, but it started with weekend drinking. And then I started to be like, oh, I could turn this up a little bit. I could have a little bit of alcohol on the weekdays, probably, if I know how to do it. But on the weekends, it was an excuse to drink. I could drink heavily because I could schedule in a hangover, and I had my day off from work. And this just always led to me feeling so guilty on Sundays, a messy house, a feeling of being so overwhelmed that I had to go back to work, which actually has a term called the Sunday scaries. Have you heard that term?
Yes. And I want to say that I didn't know there was a word for that.
I didn't know for the longest time.
I didn't either. And I can even remember as a kid getting them. You know, obviously I didn't drink as a kid, but they've been a thing, right? And now they have a name. Yeah. And since I quit drinking, I've maybe had them like twice.
Yeah, it is really rare for me to have Sunday scaries now. And granted, my life is a little different now. I don't have a typical 9-to-5 job, but every now and then I am like, where'd the weekend go? And, but the weekends still are my time to cut loose and relax from my normal schedule. What was your weekend drinking like, if you don't mind sharing?
No, I don't mind at all. So similarly to you, back in the day, like after college, starting a career in social work, okay, it's Friday, like let loose, de-stress from the work week and all the things. And then Saturday was like, let's get ready and go out. And then it progressed on Saturday to let's start pre-gaming before we go out. And then it became like Sunday fun day, where you had the hair of the dog, the mimosas, the champagne, and all the junk food to recover from your Saturday night out, whether that be going to a club or a wine bar or even just a restaurant, winding up at like a dive bar and making all sorts of crazy, interesting decisions, right? And then come Monday, it's like, oh my God, it's just, I felt on the inside like a slug. And then I would tell myself, oh, I have a stomach bug, and maybe I did, but I doubt it. And then
I'm going to say you did not. I'm going to throw that out there just because I didn't.
I felt so terrible on Monday that I couldn't hardly move. And then come Tuesday, I felt much better. Then it was like Taco Tuesday, and you can't have tacos without margaritas. So listeners, you get the point. Right? And then it's Wine Wednesday. And then it's Thirsty Thursday. And then it's like F it Friday. And it just keeps going. And here we are. And I'm 3.5 years alcohol free. So,
and then, oops, I probably need to cut back on my alcohol or just quit altogether in my case, right?
Yeah, same. Yeah, like I can't do Taco Tuesday with the margarita. I'll stick with my kombucha or recess.
Exactly. It's so interesting too, because I was even in college, I was like, the weekends are when you drink. You don't drink on the weekdays. I had those rules in place for myself, but I just slowly broke them like you're talking about. And the Sunday drinking was this really slow emerging thing. Like, I didn't drink on Sundays for the longest time. I recovered from a hangover, but then all of a sudden it was like, oh, the Sunday drinking became normal.
Yeah.
Probably for like the last year of my drinking, where it was like, well, yeah, I drink on Sundays because I have mimosas in the morning or I have Bloody Marys. And that's the way that then I keep the ball rolling, really,
Yeah.
and could make myself do things around the house. But anyway, enough about our old weekend drinking. We're gonna bring you into the new the new way of being and a new alcohol-free you, and that's what I hope that you can discover as you listen to this podcast today. So before we dive into, like, all the tips and tricks on how to have the best alcohol-free weekend, we're gonna talk about why we even fall into the weekend drinking cycle, because I think it's important for us to step back and see the why sometimes, because when you see the why, you can more clearly go, okay, this isn't a strange thing that happened to me. So there's three reasons you may fall into the weekend drinking cycle that I'm going to share. The first is social pressure and falling into the societal norm. Work happy hours, staying up late at a bar with friends, having friends over to drink at your house on the weekend, all of those things typically happen on the weekend. For the longest time, happy hour menus only existed on the weekends. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Now they exist on all weekdays, like even the restaurants
Yeah.
caught on. But and, I would say I was gonna go to happy hour because it was cheaper food, but I was there for the cheaper drinks, and I was there for the 3:30 PM drinking.
Right. You just nailed it on the head. That's why I was there. I didn't care about the food and I didn't care how much it cost.
Yeah, and I just thought it was so cool, like, "Look at this. This place is saying it's okay, I can drink at
Mm-hmm.
3:30. I don't even need to
Yep.
wait till 6 PM tonight." Like,
Yep.
that was a game changer in not
Mm-hmm.
a good way, and it just feels like everyone drinks on the weekend. So, my drinking felt really normal on the weekends. Now, at the end of my drinking, I could see that my weekday drinking was not normal anymore. I was starting to see that from an outsider's perspective, but I still couldn't see that my weekend drinking was strange. And that's why when I quit, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so strange because everybody drinks on the weekend. Is that where your mind was with that?
Yeah. Yes. Because when you start going out and socializing, say you go over to someone's house for dinner, they're probably going to be drinking and
Hmm.
it's in your head and you can get really caught up with it and start ruminating and spin out and all kinds of stuff. But we're going to help you.
Yeah. And another reason you may fall into the weekend drinking cycle is the weekend reward mentality. This was me. I mean, the social pressure was there for me, but I think this one was really me. I always associated my Friday drinking as something I earned or deserved. Oh, look at me. I worked so hard all week. I taught other people's kids. Now it's time for me to cut loose, for me to relax. I deserve this break. And
Yeah.
from the very beginning of my drinking, I experienced really terrible hangovers. Like, when people say they don't get hangovers, I always did. And it didn't hold me back though. It's like it wasn't the thing that made me. Now it is the thing that keeps me from going back because I don't even know how I survived those,
Mhm.
but it is like, I can't even believe. But I would forget parts of my night, and that was pretty typical of my drinking, and then I would feel shame about my weekend drinking. I remember people would ask me, like, "What did you do over the weekend?" And I'd be like, "Oh, no, not that much." Because
Mhm.
I didn't wanna be like, I just drank a whole bunch, had a terrible hangover, had to recover from that. Really don't
Yeah.
remember a lot of the night.
You have to clip out certain part and like just give the brief version, which probably, if I remember correctly, it made me more anxious because I did, maybe I didn't know. Maybe it was a blackout, maybe
Mhm.
there was like a big to do that happened, like some drama, right? And then you're caught off guard, like, yeah, yeah, kind of like you. I got really quiet and I was probably sick as crap. So it's like,
Right?
didn't have enough energy to answer. But I totally, like on Monday, I would like be messaging people at work, "Is it Friday yet?" Like planning for the weekend reward on Monday. And I had just gotten to work. Say
Yeah.
Monday at noon.
Yeah, yeah. It's so ingrained, and if you're hearing this and you're like, "Yeah," I mean, it is part of society. It's just part of what we all say. I used to be the teacher that would be singing that is it Rebecca Black, the Friday song, the really annoying one?
I
Do you
don't
know it?
know. I'll
Oh
have to
my
look at
god.
it.
Oh, all it is like, "It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday." Oh, all the time. My students would be coming into my classroom, I'd be singing that, but in my brain, I was like, "I'm gonna drink tonight." It's just ridiculous, like,
Mhm.
the cycle we were stuck in. So the cycle definitely leads to consequences, right? We've already kind of talked about it, and if you guys could just see Heather's face on that, yes, she 1,000,000% agrees. So I thought I was de-stressing with my weekend drinking, and I was really just adding to the stress. I didn't complete weekend chores that needed to get done. I would have hangovers, and my hangovers, I don't know about you, my hangovers came with a lot of guilt and anxiety. Like,
Yes.
ugh,
I
the
had
worst.
terrible hangovers, and then I stopped getting them probably because my body was just, one big hangover, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that, and it was like a badge of honor, and it's not
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
So,
It took me a super long time to see that this wasn't helping me, that my weekend drinking was not a way to take care of myself, to get to self-care. Like, I thought it was my self-care because
me
even though
too.
I had hangovers on the weekend, I still felt like it was normal.
Reward, we deserved it, and we can
Yeah.
power through, push through, and then do another power hour Saturday night.
Yeah. There's no
Yeah,
reason you can't drink both nights of the weekend and Sunday morning, right?
right.
Oh my gosh. So, we're
Mhm.
going to now move on to talking about understanding and replacing that cycle and really giving you strategies that you can take moving forward into your next alcohol free weekend feeling super empowered. But before we do, I want to take a quick break to remind you that you should check out the Daymakers community or one on one coaching with Heather if you haven't already. If you've been a longtime listener of the podcast and you're interested in working with us more in a more in depth way, the Daymakers community is pretty cool. The Daymakers community is really cool. It's not pretty cool.
Yeah,
Really
it's
cool. It's like
fantastic.
it's my highlight of the morning to like check in, see what everybody's talking about in the group. But we have a private message thread and we have different topics within that message thread. We do a book club, we do weekly group coaching calls with weekly focuses that happen after that so we can keep working on what we discussed in those coaching calls. And you can check it out for just $7 for your first week and see if it's a good fit for you. And then Heather also has one on one coaching available. Do you want to chat about that quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So check out the link in the show notes. The coaching sessions are reasonably priced to help folks access some one on one support. We can talk about any topic. I can meet you where you are, and I have some availability. So check out the link and let's chat.
Yes. All right, let's get back to this breaking the weekend drinking cycle. We're going to talk about understanding that cycle and replacing it. And we're going to dive in first to the idea of Sunday scaries, which we talked a teeny tiny bit about at the beginning. It's so funny. I asked Google to go ahead and divine this for me. And, it pulls up its whole different website. Every website just basically said the same thing because I was like, I'm going to get a really great definition. Well, everything says basically the same thing. And Sunday scaries refer to the feeling of anxiety or dread that tends to set in on Sunday, usually in anticipation of the upcoming work week. And why does it happen? Essentially, it's a type of that's a hard word to say. Oh my gosh, I can type it, but can I say it? Essentially, a type of anticipatory anxiety where individuals may experience stress and worry about Monday and the responsibilities of the week ahead. And my drinking fueled that anxiety because I would be looking at the work week ahead and thinking, why didn't I get anything done this weekend? Why was I just drinking? Why was I just nursing my hangover? And then I'd be in my head of like, you got to do better next weekend. You've got to get more on top of this. You've got to change this. So it was just kind of this whole cycle that naturally happens to people, and then it's like the whole throwing gasoline on the fire scenario.
Yeah, it's like a feeling that comes on you. Like you can feel it in your body sometimes. The couple times I've experienced it since I quit drinking. But back when I was a drinker, it was so like strong. Like you said,
Mhm.
because the alcohol had fueled the anxiety. And then I was in that shame, guilt spiral. And then the
Yeah.
Sunday scaries felt humongous. So what do?
Humongous.
You drink about it. But
Oh my
in the
gosh,
here and
yes.
now, in the here and now, it makes it so much worse. Like, I think the couple times I've experienced it, I was like, oh my God, if I was drinking, this would be like a panic attack or an anxiety attack.
Yeah, it is wild to me, and, like, the way I would let laundry pile up on the weekends, and I mean, when it was just me, I could get away with that, but once I had kids and I wasn't getting just those little chores done that prep you for the next week and make you more successful, I wasn't getting any of those things, like lunches pre-packed for my kids, things just kind of laid out and sorted. No, it was more just like the house was a disaster, and then Monday would come, and I was just running all over like a chicken with my head cut off. That's a crazy saying when you actually own chickens, guys. But but I was totally just like doing the crazy Monday morning run around frantic. Ugh, and I brought it all on myself. And
Yep.
when I was stuck in it, I was blaming other people.
Everybody.
Why do I have to get up and work so early? Why teachers have to start their job too early in the morning? This is
Hmm.
ridiculous. Why doesn't my husband have to get to work as early as me? Like, I could find every excuse in the book. So,
Yeah.
how do we start dealing with it? First, you have to find your alternative ways to unwind. So, there's a few ways we can do this. You could start filling your weekend with more mindful activities. And I know when you think about this, you're like, well, don't aren't those just things I should be doing all the time throughout the week? What's really cool on the weekend is you can dive more into these activities. So we were talking about junk journaling or joy journaling on the last episode. You could really dive into that on the weekend. Go buy that journal. Get really excited about these mindful activities that you're going to start making happening. So, journaling, meditating. What if on the weekend you actually booked a meditation day, right? You went somewhere and did a guided meditation with a group, or you did a sound bath, or you went and got a massage or one of the float sessions. I know. What a deprivation tank.
I did that last Sunday.
Did you? Did you like it?
I liked it a lot. It was really cool. A 10 out of 10 recommend.
Cool. Yeah, book something like that on the weekends because you're saving money because you're not drinking. So take the money
Hmm.
that you would have spent on alcohol over the weekend and book something where you're doing some sort of mindful activity. If you're like, okay, I can't book these activities, I'm really busy, I got it. Listen to a self help book or a podcast while you're doing your chores.
Yep.
Listen to something about meditation or journaling. Dive deep into those things. Start some hobbies. Use your weekends to get into the hobbies that you used to have before you were a drinker. I think so many of the times, like my only hobby was drinking.
Hmm.
So on the
Same.
weekend, I found myself going, what the hell do I do? Well, it's time to re engage with past you, which is another way to be mindful and rediscover yourself.
Absolutely. And if you think about the time that you gave alcohol, whether it was 2 hours or 24 hours,
Hmm.
you have the time to invest in yourself and you won't be on the bathroom floor.
Oh, God.
You'll be like looking into the sensory deprivation float tank. You
Yes.
can buy a new nail gel kit and put your nails on yourself. Keep your hands busy, keep your mind busy. You're not running from it. You're running
Yeah.
into or like leaning into something new and cool and life giving. And what I have
Yeah.
learned, because y'all, if y'all been listening for a while, you probably know I'm like 105 miles an hour, like ADHD, like da 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 da. Da. It's hard for me to relax. It's incredibly hard for me to cut my brain off. So, what do? You get a recess. I had two last night, and I'm super excited about it. We're not sponsored by them, but if you're listening, give us a call. Like, schedule the time. If you feel spastic, I'm just going to be real. If you feel spastic and you can't calm down, like schedule a nothing day once a
Hmm.
month on a Sunday and do whatever you want. Go
Yeah.
to Lowe's Hardware and explore. That sounds random, but that's my new thing. But like, do something new. You know,
Yes.
it doesn't cost, like, it can be free. Just do something different, move a muscle in a different direction.
Yeah, it's almost that pattern interrupt idea. Just change it up. And then remember when you're preparing for the next week, do it with a positive mindset. And I'm saying this mainly for me because I can get very like that I have to do chores. I hate chores. Housekeeping is not my thing. I'm not great at it. But I have found that when I reframe it and I look at getting my laundry done and getting it all folded and put away as a form of self care, it changes the game. Right when I think that, I think, oh, and I'll play through it and I'll go, hey, when you know where your socks and underwear are in the morning and you're not having to search through the laundry basket, like your life is better.
S
And then I go, oh, okay. And then I can give myself that time on the weekend. And I really enjoy doing it because a lot of times I pop my headphones on. I tell the family, like, no one needs to come help me. I would really like this quiet time to just go put my laundry away and listen to a podcast.
Yeah,
And I enjoy it. Like, go figure, something that I would have just died doing
yeah.
hungover.
It's
I
so nice to have a pair of socks that are black and not one, like, navy blue and
mhm.
black, and then you get to the
Yes.
office and you're like, "Well, shit."
Yeah.
So,
And
it's just a matter of the little things like that where you're not so in the
yeah.
chaos of alcohol.
Yeah. And if you're a person like me and you struggle with housekeeping, that has really, really helped me. It's something I saw on a TikTok and everybody started calling it like the weekend reset. And I was like, oh, people just gave cleaning a fancy name. It really helps. As much as I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. It helps me. And it really helps me when I just know I'm going to feel better when it's done. And I don't clean my whole house every weekend, but I put in little pushes in certain areas. And I know the things that really set me up for success. And when I look at them as taking care of myself, life is better. So, we're going to dive into building an alcohol free weekend routine. We talk about daily routines, right? We talk about morning routines, evening routines, and how important they are to your alcohol free journey. And I think we leave out the weekend a lot. I know
Yeah,
I do. So, I want you to start planning ahead for sober fun. These are all super fun activities you can do to get ready to prepare for your like weekend routine that's always going to be your thing. First, create a weekend bucket list. Like, how fun does that sound to sit down with your journal and write down all the fun things you want to do on weekends?
I recently did it and it's so fun, and you
Yeah.
are so, like, I was so surprised at what I found that was going on around town.
Right? Well, and that's the thing. So when you're thinking, well, how can I figure out this list? Start thinking about maybe outdoor activities you want to do, or creative projects, or exploring local events, which is super fun to figure out like, oh, there's things to go do on the weekend. And think about house projects you need to do. Maybe
Yeah,
those aren't super fun. But again, if you look at them at self care, maybe they are then fun. The
yeah,
next thing you can do is, can you hear the rain really bad on the yurt right now?
I can hear it, yeah.
Do you think we're going to hear it through the recording really bad?
It sounds nice.
So we have some rain hitting right now, and I do record in my yurt from time to time. So if you hear a white noise background sound, that's it. It's the rain on the yurt. You guys get to enjoy it on the podcast. So think about your dream weekend. And you did something probably like last year, sometime around the holidays. And I think it was your best day.
Your ideal day.
Your ideal day. I was trying to remember when I was writing the notes. So, could you talk about that, but put it in terms of a weekend?
Yes. So when you think about your ideal weekend, I want you to start with the idea that time doesn't exist. And this is a completely dream exercise, so to speak. Time doesn't exist. You wake up. Where are you? What do you smell? What do you feel? Are you at the beach? How do your sheets feel? Like, what color are the walls? Like, start there and get really detailed and let your mind just wander. What do you eat? Are you going to go skiing? Just think, just dream and see what you come up with. And then try to narrow that. This is like a mini coaching session, BTW. So, like, just try to narrow that down to make it somewhat realistic. Just picture kind of like what you let your mind wander to into your weekend. And like I said, take what is tangible and make it happen.
I love that activity. And I do it often with the ideal day. I'm glad now I know the name of it. I think I kept just calling it best day.
Yeah, that
So,
works.
but yeah, create your ideal weekend. This is another fun journaling thing, or you could even find pictures. You could do it on Canva and almost turn it into a weekend vision board. But how long do you sleep? What's your perfect weekend
Hmm.
breakfast? What things do you do? Really dial into that. And then the very last thing I want to dive into for you is tips for staying sober on the weekend. Super easy, tangible tips. Because I know we've talked about some big ideas here, but now, okay, weekend is coming up. I know you're listening to this on a Tuesday, so it feels far away, but it's coming faster than you think. But I just want you to think about these things. First, set your intentions for the weekend. Put the focus on creating memories instead of taking away memories, because that's what drinking did for me. It just took things away from me. Remind yourself that an alcohol free weekend leads to less chaos in your life and more peace. Think of how amazing hangover free weekends are. If you haven't had one yet, they're the best. So
Yeah.
try it out. And then just look at those weekend chores as self care, that you're going to really take care of yourself. What are other intention ideas you might have for the weekend? Or if you don't have any, that's okay.
I think that, say you're at work and you're on Teams and you have a person like I used to be that's going to be messaging you or coming into your office or texting your personal phone, like, hey, girl, it's Taco Tuesday. Like, if you're going to have a me in your life, somebody that's listening does, and they're going to start on Tuesday of what you're going to do on Friday. So set your intention and hold your boundaries with people like I used to be, because we really don't care. We just want somebody to go with us, and we don't know that. So keep that in mind. So that's a good intention. Like, know that there are people like me that are going to start on Tuesday.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That's such a good one. And then it's even prepping you as you go through your work week to be prepped for those intentions for the weekend. And those intentions that we went through for you, those can become your affirmations. So write those down as affirmations throughout the week so you're ready. The next thing, this is one that always seems so simple, but have a go-to list of alcohol-free beverages that you can use when the weekend comes up, that you can drink. Maybe you want to make mocktails, get really into it. Go on Pinterest, start a Pinterest board on that. Or maybe it's just super simple, having pre made drinks like Recess. We have mentioned them. I got to try them now because we've talked
Yeah.
about them a lot. Have some kombucha on hand, always have tonic water on hand if you're hanging out with me, because I'm going to need it. I've started when I cook dinner, I started going, I need a drink. And my husband just comes over and he's like making my little tonic drink. And he always goes, what do you want? What do you want? A gin and tonic, which we have no gin in our house. But it's just always funny that it's like this, it's become such a habit for me right now. And it really does kind of almost ease my mind when I've got it. And I'm like, cook dinner, have my tasty drink. So be prepared that way for the weekend. And but go out and go on a little shopping spree and just have some fun stuff. Go to Trader Joe's or go to Target and see what they have. There's fun stores out there with different drink selections. And just think of different social strategies you may need to have. Practice responding to people on declining
Mm-hmm.
drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Look in the mirror and talk like you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Practice saying no. I know it's weird, but it really helps.
Yeah. And don't go to the bar.
Oh my God, don't go to the bar.
Like, seriously, don't go to the brewery. Don't go to the old watering hole.
Yeah. If it's weekend number one, don't
Don't.
do it. Yeah. I said that in a TikTok like 2 weeks ago, and I had pushback from people.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I'm
and
sure.
I was totally like, somebody's like, well, what if you work at a bar? I'm like, well, I'm not talking to you. You're at work.
And you're probably not supposed to be drinking on the job.
Right? Yeah. So do your job a little bit better. Don't drink on the job then. And
Mhm.
then it was just like, and people were like, well, you need to be able to go places when you're still a drinker. Like, not drinking is not a prison. And I'm like, that's not what I said. I said, if you're brand new to your alcohol free journey. So I go to bars now, but when I go, I'm always kind of like, why am I here? I have that feeling like this
Mhm.
maybe isn't for me. If I am there with a purpose, like to see a concert or we're playing pool, then it feels more like, okay, I get why I'm here. But honestly, yeah, don't do happy hour your first weekend. Don't go to the bar. Just have a different plan. And the very last thing is I want you to dive into the reality of an alcohol-free weekend. As a drinker, I always thought that alcohol-free weekends would be boring, but they are completely opposite. My drinking weekends were boring. I
Yes.
always tell people by the end, I was not an exciting drinker. I was somebody that drank at home, just got drunk at home, and I did
Yep.
boring home stuff. I didn't even do boring home stuff. I just drank at home. That was it.
Yep.
And now my weekends are jam packed and not in a bad way. Like
Yeah.
I fit in self care, fun, chores, and relaxing. I fit all of that in. And I could never do that when I was a drinker. And now when people ask me, how was your weekend? I can wholeheartedly answer, amazing. And then list off so many cool things I did. And when I was a drinker, I could never do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give an example. I thought everything would just be weird and boring, and I was really judgy. And now, like, I went to the movies. I've been to the movies twice this month. It was so much fun to go to two different theaters and like explore and kind of be a stranger where I live and like find out all this cool stuff. So it's not boring to be alcohol free. It's a whole lot of fun.
It really, really is. And I hope that we've inspired you with this podcast and you're not feeling as afraid of alcohol free weekends. If you're still on the outside looking in on what this whole alcohol free world is, try it out. Try it out for just a weekend, but
Hmm.
don't look at it as a punishment. Look at it as I'm going to do this and I'm going to see if I feel good and I'm going to look for the good things. And then come back and just tell us, how did it go? What
Yeah.
happened on that weekend? I bet you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I want to know.
Yes, definitely. I always tell people, screenshot that you're listening, share what you learned on the podcast in your Instagram stories and tag us. We would jump for joy when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Let us know how it's going. Thank you all for listening. Remember to subscribe to the podcast and give us a rating. This helps us stay visible. Check out the link in the show notes for the Daymakers and one-on-one coaching with me. You'll love it. You won't regret it. I promise. Bye, y'all.